Joe Biden, for all the criticism that people like myself have heaped on him for a long time, he has held the line on China. I will say that.
Yes, and this is no easy problem. China has its own domestic issues at this point in time. And so while the world is watching pretty closely what's happening around, especially South China Sea, security concerns, it doesn't mean that we need to be escalating things unnecessarily. So this is where just holding the line is actually quite a strong move. And so you're right. Joe Biden has held the line with them. Quite notably, they had John Kerry visiting China. So you can tell that one of their major engagement points here is going to be on climate. And as superpowers want to do, they'll probably have some pretty ambitious targets, and it'll be a bit questionable whether they ever actually hit them. But holding the line here is quite important just for that global security. We are in a bit of a global reset, whether that's what she's calling for or not. This is a time when we're seeing a rise in populism around the world, and China definitely wants to assert itself as a dominant power, but they are that dominant power in the region. And so there's no benefit to be grandstanding with them, to be overstepping that line. But at the same time, Joe Biden needs to make sure that they know that the US is in control. And I think we're going to start seeing this play out in a more traditional way with things like tariffs, trade kind of repercussions, as opposed to any kind of strong language from the president.
All that stuff who was the last president to do tariffs on China? Oh, that's right, Trump. Trump was right again. Now, I want to ask about this here. So California is one of those states where if you can get 1 million people to sign a petition, you can have the chance to boot out your governor. Now, most famously, this happened when Gray Davis, the Democrat, was able to be recalled. That's what has to happen first, and then replaced with Arnold Schwarzenegger as the California governor. Now, Gavin Newsom is this hard left guy who, of course, was caught out being a total hypocrite, not wearing masks and all of that business. So there was an effort, and they got the 1 million people for a recall vote. But polling at this stage says, unlike the Schwarzenegger thing, 15 years ago, most likely this bloke will be able to hold on to his job.
Yes, but the big test here is going to be turnout. And the reason it's so interesting is because this is a real test of how much progressives can mobilise people, because we are seeing increasingly strong divides, and especially in California, you're seeing people go further to the left. That doesn't mean that there aren't Republicans in the state that don't want to have their voices heard as well. What this is going to be interesting, though, is that a number of progressive progressive people put their names to this campaign. So you've had TV advertising by Bernie Sanders. You've had Kamala Harris out campaigning with Gavin Newsom. And so if they can't get that turnout that they were hoping for, that's going to be a really strong indicator that they're not in the best shape that they were thinking before the midterm elections. And especially when you had a few things come up that should be firing up their base, like this abortion law in Texas. These are all really strong things for the progressives to say, hey, you need a progressive governor in charge, because if they try and put up any laws, I can block this. All that kind of stuff should be firing people up. And they've given them access to do mail-in ballots for an extended period of time leading up to this.
Course.
So, yeah.
Pandemic, despite the fact that we're not in lockdown anymore, and you can go to the football and all. But, as long as mailing becomes an option. But God forbid you asked anyone for ID. That would, of course, be an absolute disgrace. Anyway, Annelise, nice to talk to you, mate. We'll talk to you again next week. Thank you.